you inspect every device in your home right now, and I mean right now. Pause this video, look at that smoke detector, that USB charger, that innocent picture frame, because the three people whose stories I'm sharing tonight all made the same mistake. They trusted the object around them. Before we start, if you're new here and you love true horror stories that will keep you up at night, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And to my regular viewers, you know the drill. Lights off, headphones on. Tonight's first story comes from Alex, who found cameras hidden in his apartment walls. My name is Alex Morrison, and I'm sharing this story because I need people to understand that hidden cameras can be anywhere, disguised as anything. I was 26 when I moved to Portland in fall 2019, desperate for my own space after a draining relationship. After weeks of searching, I found salvation, a small one-bedroom on the second floor of a 1940s building in southeast Portland. The rent was reasonable, the location perfect, and the landlord, Mr. Peterson, seemed unusually generous with modern upgrades. The apartment had been recently renovated with smart home features that seemed too good for the rent I was paying. New smoke detectors with Wi-Fi connectivity, USB outlets throughout, even a digital photo display that Peterson said would make the place feel more modern. I've invested in tenant safety and convenience, Peterson explained during my walkthrough, pointing out various devices with obvious pride. Smart smoke detectors that alert your phone, USB charging station, air quality monitor to ensure healthy living. Most landlords don't care about these details. My bedroom window faced this narrow courtyard, and Peterson had installed what he called a security enhancement, a small device on the windowsill that he said would detect if anyone tried to break in from the fire escape. Those first few weeks felt perfect. I'd come home around 6, the sound of my key in that lock, followed by the familiar squeal of hinges. The smart home features worked seamlessly. Lights that dimmed automatically, temperature that adjusted to my preferences, even a white noise machine that helped me sleep better than I had in months. If you're enjoying Alex's story and want to hear more terrifying true experiences, show some love with a like. It really helps the channel grow. But I started noticing small things that felt off. The photo display occasionally showed images I didn't remember uploading, pictures of my daily routine, my workspace, even selfies from my phone that I'd never shared with the device. I was about to learn that my smart apartment was much smarter than I'd realized, and it was watching everything. It started when I noticed my phone storage filling up with photos I hadn't taken. The auto backup feature showed hundreds of images captured throughout my apartment, but I'd only taken maybe 20 photos since moving in. Most were mundane, my morning coffee routine, me working on my laptop, even pictures of me sleeping that had somehow been taken from above my bed. The metadata showed they'd been captured by devices I didn't recognize on my network. I ran the network scan using an app and found 7 connected devices I couldn't identify. 7 unknown cameras streaming to external servers using my own Wi-Fi network to spy on me. That's when I started really looking at the upgrade Peterson had installed. The smoke detector above my bed had a tiny lens that didn't belong in standard fire safety equipment. The USB charging station had components that looked suspiciously like camera housings. The photo display was the most sophisticated, not only showing my personal images without permission, but containing a nearly invisible camera that had been recording me in my bedroom for weeks. I examined that air quality monitor Peterson had been so proud of. Online research revealed it wasn't monitoring air quality at all. It was a disguised surveillance camera with motion detection and cloud storage capability. Every upgrade Peterson had installed was actually a spy device. My apartment wasn't modern and convenient. It was a surveillance fishbowl, and I'd been living in it completely unaware for 2 months, but discovering the camera was just the beginning. The real horror was finding out where the footage was going. I called a tech-savvy friend who worked in cybersecurity. When Jake arrived and saw what I'd discovered, his face went pale. "This isn't amateur hour," he said, examining the hidden camera with professional scrutiny. "This is sophisticated surveillance equipment with remote access capability. Jake helped me trace the network connection. All cameras were streaming to external server registered under shell companies. But worse than that, when we accessed the local storage hidden inside what looked like a cable modem, we found footage of previous tenants. Peterson had been recording tenants for years. Bedroom activities, private conversations, intimate moments, all carefully cataloged and stored. Some footage had timestamps going back 3 years, showing different people in my apartment, all unknowingly monitored. We found evidence that Peterson was selling access to the live feeds through encrypted websites. People were paying monthly subscriptions to watch real tenants living their private lives, completely unaware they were performing for an audience. The folder structure was organized by apartment number and tenant name. My folder already contained gigabytes of footage, me sleeping, changing clothes, phone conversations with family, even intimate moments with my girlfriend. But the most disturbing discovery was a document titled Tenant Selection Criteria. Peterson specifically targeted young single tenants who worked regular hours, believing they were less likely to notice surveillance and more likely to provide interesting content for subscribers. Armed with evidence, I called the police and the FBI's cybercrime unit simultaneously. When Detective Martinez arrived and saw the scope of Peterson's operation, she immediately called for federal backup. This is the most sophisticated voyeuristic surveillance operation we've seen in this district, Detective Martinez explained as FBI technicians documented each hidden camera, professional installation, encrypted streaming, international payment processing. This is organized criminal activity. The FBI raid on Peterson's home revealed the full scope of his operation. Multiple properties equipped with hidden cameras, servers containing terabytes of illegal footage, and financial records showing substantial income from voyeuristic content sales. Peterson had been running his surveillance network for over 4 years, targeting dozens of unsuspecting tenants across multiple rental properties. He'd generated hundreds of thousands of dollars selling access to private footage of people who had no idea they were being watched. Before I tell you how this ends, smash that subscribe button right now. What the FBI discovered about Peterson's network will absolutely shock you, and if you don't subscribe, YouTube might not show you the rest of this series. Peterson was charged with federal crimes, including illegal surveillance, violation of privacy, wire fraud, and conspiracy. He received 12 years in federal prison, but the damage to his victim was permanent, immediately breaking my lease and losing my deposit. But I learned that hidden cameras can be disguised as literally any electronic device. Smoke detectors, chargers, picture frames, air fresheners. If it has power and a tiny opening, it can contain a camera. Because Peterson's operation wasn't unique. Right now, somewhere, another landlord is installing upgrades in rental property, and another tenant is about to discover their private life has become someone else's entertainment. My name is Marcus Rodriguez, and after hearing Alex's story, I knew I had to share what happened to me. I'm a 28-year-old software developer from Denver, and in early 2021, I thought I'd found the perfect roommate arrangement with someone I'll call Jake. Jake seemed ideal when we met through a roommate app. Clean, quiet, worked regular hours, and he already had a great 2-bedroom apartment in a trendy neighborhood. Plus, he was into smart home technology, which I appreciated as a tech professional. I've invested in some serious home automation, Jake explained during my devices with obvious enthusiasm. Smart speakers, automated lighting, security cameras for the common areas. Makes life more convenient and keeps us safe. The apartment was impressive. Jake had cameras covering the entrance and living room, voice-activated everything, and even what he called a productivity monitoring system. It helped him optimize his work-from-home setup. Jake was incredibly accommodating during my move-in. He helped me set up my bedroom with some upgrades he'd purchased. A smart alarm clock with charging capabilities, an air quality monitor for better sleep, even a digital assistant to control the room's lighting and temperature. I found these devices really improve quality of life, Jake explained while installing the bedroom equipment. The air quality monitor ensures you're breathing clean air, the smart clock learns your sleep patterns for optimal wake-up timing, and the digital assistant can answer question or play white noise. Living with Jake felt effortless. He was considerate about shared spaces, had interesting conversation about technology, and seemed genuinely invested in making our living situation comfortable for both of us. Drop a comment if you've ever had a roommate who seemed too good to be true. This gets much darker. About 2 months in, I started noticing Jake knew details about my daily routine that I'd never shared. He'd ask about my work project in ways that seemed to already understand what I was doing. He'd suggest restaurants I'd researched online but never mentioned aloud. How did you know I was working on that machine learning project? I asked one evening after Jake made a specific reference to code I'd been writing privately in my bedroom. "Oh, you mentioned it the other day," he said casually, but I was certain I'd never discussed that project with anyone. The coincidences became more frequent and specific. Jake would bring up topics that perfectly aligned with my private internet searches, suggest solutions to problems I'd only thought about internally, even reference conversations I'd had with my girlfriend during phone calls in my bedroom. One evening, while Jake was out, I decided to carefully examine the devices he'd installed in my room. The smart alarm clock felt heavier than it should, and when I opened the back panel, I found a sophisticated camera and audio recording system. The air quality monitor contained no air quality sensors at all, just high-definition recording equipment capable of capturing clear video, even in low light. The digital assistant had been modified with additional microphones that could pick up whispered conversations and even keystrokes on my laptop. I found 5 hidden cameras in my bedroom alone, all disguised as helpful smart home devices. Every private moment, changing clothes, phone calls, intimate conversations, had been recorded and stored somewhere. Using network analysis tools, I discovered all the cameras were streaming to a hidden server farm in Jake's bedroom closet. Sophisticated equipment disguised as normal computer hardware. Jake had been collecting behavioral data on me with the precision of a scientific study. When I accessed the server, I found months of footage organized with obsessive detail, not just video, keystroke logs that captured every password, audio recordings of private phone calls, even analysis reports about my productivity patterns and personal habits. But I wasn't Jake's first subject. The servers contained similar data on 2 previous roommates, both of whom had left under mysterious circumstances. Jake had been perfecting his surveillance techniques for over 2 years. When Jake returned, I confronted him with printouts of the surveillance evidence. His reaction was chilling, not shame or guilt, but annoyance that I discovered his research project. "I'm studying human behavioral patterns for my psychology thesis," Jake explained calmly. "The data I collect is anonymized and contributes to legitimate academic research on productivity optimization and social interaction pattern." I demanded he delete everything immediately, but Jake refused, claiming the data was too valuable to lose. "You agreed to live here knowing I was conducting research," he argued, though he'd never mentioned anything about surveillance or data collection. I called the police that night. When officers arrived and saw the scope silent. Subscribe right now if you want to hear what the FBI discovered in Jake's servers. It's so much worse than just roommate spying. Federal agents found that Jake had been selling behavioral data to marketing companies and academic researchers without consent. The surveillance footage had been used to create detailed psychological profiles that were sold to organizations studying consumer behavior. Jake's operation generated substantial income through data sale, subscription access to live feeds, and consulting services for companies wanting to understand how people behave in private spaces. He was charged with federal privacy violations, wire fraud, computer intrusion, and conspiracy. The evidence included thousands of hours of illegal recordings, financial records showing data sales, and communications with buyers of surveillance footage. Jake received 8 years in federal prison, but the psychological violation was permanent. I still cover all cameras and inspect every electronic device before bringing it into my home, because I learned that even the most helpful person in your life might be documenting your every move. My name is Jessica Chen, and my story will make you question every device in your workplace. I'm a 26-year-old marketing coordinator from Austin, and in early 2020, I thought I'd found my dream job at TechFlow Solution, a startup that prided itself on cutting-edge technology. The office was everything a tech-savvy millennial could want. Smart conference rooms with voice-activated equipment, personal tablets for each employee, even AI-powered productivity tools that promised to optimize our work efficiency. David Hoffman was TechFlow's senior IT support specialist, and he made everyone's job easier with constant technological upgrades. When my laptop started running slowly, David volunteered to take it overnight for comprehensive optimization. I'm installing advanced security software and productivity monitoring tools. David explained when he returned my laptop the next morning, you'll have enhanced privacy protection, encrypted file storage, and even behavioral analytics to help optimize your work pattern. David had also upgraded my desk setup without being asked. New webcam for video calls, smart speakers for voice-activated task management, even a digital picture frame that would display motivational quotes and productivity metric. Comment if you've ever had an IT person who seemed a little too helpful with upgrades you didn't request. Within weeks, I noticed my work computer seemed to know more about my habits than I'd realized. The productivity software would suggest break times that perfectly aligned with my natural energy cycle, recommend tasks based on projects I'd only thought about, even predict when I'd need technical support. David explained that the advanced AI was learning my behavioral patterns to provide personalized productivity optimization. The system monitors your keystroke patterns, screen time, even ambient audio to understand when you're most focused, he said proudly. But colleagues started referencing conversations and decisions I'd never shared at work. My manager mentioned concerns about projects I'd only discussed in private phone call. Co-workers knew about my personal plans before I told anyone. The situation escalated when people began referencing detailed conversations I was certain had never happened. My supervisor would discuss my feedback on projects I'd never commented on, using exact phrases I'd only spoken aloud in my apartment. I appreciate your insights about the Johnson account budget concerns, my manager said during a team meeting. I had no memory of discussing the Johnson account, but 6 colleagues nodded as if this conversation had definitely occurred. I started documenting every interaction, taking notes like my sanity depended on it. The pattern was clear. People knew things about my private thoughts, conversations that I never shared with anyone at work. I began systematically examining every device David had installed or upgraded. The webcam had capabilities far beyond video calling. It could record continuously and upload upload footage to remote servers. The smart speakers weren't just for productivity. They contained sophisticated audio recording equipment. The digital picture frame was the most invasive. Not only did it display my personal photos without permission, it contained cameras that recorded my workspace and microphones that captured every conversation within 30 feet. But the most disturbing discovery was software hidden on my laptop that could activate the camera and microphone remotely, even when the computer appeared to be off. David had been recording everything: work conversation, personal phone calls, even intimate moments when I worked late and thought I was alone. The surveillance wasn't limited to the office. Using network analysis tools, I discovered that the security software David had installed was actually spyware that had accessed my home network, my personal devices, even my smart TV and voice assistant. David had been monitoring my personal life with the same thoroughness he used for workplace surveillance. He knew my daily routines, my personal relationships, my private conversations, even my most intimate moments at home. I found evidence that he'd been using voice synthesis technology to impersonate me in phone calls to colleagues, creating the false conversation that everyone kept referencing. He'd been gaslighting me by manufacturing interactions that never actually occurred. When I reported David to the FBI's cybercrime unit, they discovered he'd been running a sophisticated corporate espionage operation disguised as IT support. He wasn't just spying on employees. He was selling corporate intelligence to competitors. David's surveillance network included dozens of employees across multiple companies where he'd worked. He'd perfected the technique of installing spyware under the guise of productivity enhancement and security upgrades. The FBI found that David had been selling employee behavioral data, corporate communications, and even intimate surveillance footage through encrypted marketplaces. His operation generated hundreds of thousands of dollars while destroying the privacy of hundreds of victims. Before I tell you how this ends, smash that like button and subscribe with notifications on. David's home contained servers with surveillance footage from dozens of companies and hundreds of employees. He'd been operating his spy network for over 5 years, constantly upgrading his techniques and expanding his victim base. He was charged with federal crimes including corporate espionage, privacy violations, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. Thousands of hours of illegal surveillance, detailed victim profiles, and financial records showing substantial income from data sales. David received 15 years in federal prison, but the psychological damage was permanent. I left TechFlow immediately, moved to a different city, and now work remotely. I inspect every device before using it and never trust workplace technology without thorough security verification, because David's operation revealed a terrifying truth. In our connected workplace, every device is potentially a spy. Every helpful IT upgrade could be a surveillance tool, and the person most eager to help with your technology might be the one recording your every move. 3 different environments. 3 people who discovered that hidden cameras can be anywhere, disguised as anything, installed by anyone with access to your space. If these stories terrified you as much as they should have, smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the bell icon for notifications, because I post new nightmare fuel about hidden surveillance every single week. Seriously, do it now